Uh, Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're kind of in the Goldwater home stretch here with 3 weeks left to go before the Goldwater deadline on the last Friday in January at 5 p.m. Central Time. Don't miss that deadline. This is the last of the presentation sessions. Carrie Caruxis is going to give a presentation here shortly on a checklist to make sure that everything is in place. And after this session, we have 3 more sessions, but they're all question and answer. So we will be here to answer whatever questions you have. And of course, you can always ask us questions via email, either to myself or Scholarship America if you need some help with a student's application. Technical questions on the use of the dashboard and should go to Scholarship America. I'm available to answer policy questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carrie.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We thought it was a good time to simply provide a few reminders before you submit your nominees' applications by the end of the month. We're going to take some time to review the main responsibilities that you have at this point, but also suggest maybe a few other voluntary steps that you might take that would help strengthen your students' applications. Let's get it. There we go. So, as you know, the application process is set up so that as the CR, you're the one who uploads the nominees' transcripts, their letters of recommendation, and submits the nominees' applications. There's also an opportunity to complete a CR statement. We know it's optional, but throughout all of these sessions, we've been highly recommending that. And as John said, the deadline's January 30th, 5 p.m. Central Time. But we're going to talk about today are some optional tasks that you might consider taking to strengthen your applicants' submissions. And what we're going to look at is verifying the transcripts to make sure they have the necessary information and are readable. Will confirm that the recommenders' letters have adhered to the specified format and provided the requested information. And there's a number of items that we'll talk about there. And we'll ask you to encourage your nominees to complete the optional question and take a look at both the student's research essay and the research mentor's letter to see if they've discussed the intellectual contributions that the students have made to the research. So we're going to take a look at all of those optional steps. Okay, it is the applicant's role and their responsibility to provide you with their transcripts, and the guidelines in the Goldwater website clearly state that that is the case, and the information that has to appear on the transcript is also stated in those directions. So your role could simply be to collect those transcripts and upload them. But what we'd like you to take a look at is verifying if the transcripts are current. And the descriptions on the Goldwater website indicate that what a current transcript is. It's one that lists all the courses the student has taken at their current institution and previous schools, as well as the course grades. Now, that means it's the student's responsibility if the courses and grades from previous institutions are not listed on the current transcript to request those transcripts. So now there's a good time to do that. We have a few weeks before submissions are due. Obviously, there may be some situations where the grades are not yet available. Your academic calendar might be such that Grades are not yet determined. Students might be taking finals at this time. If that's the case, somewhere in the application or in your CR statement, please let us know that that's the case. Also, if the student was studying abroad in the fall, they probably won't have their grades available. And again, just indicate that in the application or in the CR statement. There is a section where the students should have listed their current courses, courses from the fall and what they're taking this semester. So we'll know what courses might be missing, but it helps the reviewer to know that the transcripts haven't been overlooked, that the student just doesn't have the grades at this time. Okay. Uh, Again, we've recommended throughout our various sessions that you consider completing the optional CR statement, and we've talked about the kinds of items that you might include in that statement. They're listed here as a summary. You might talk about the selection process for the Goldwater Scholars, why the specific student was nominated, if there was some identifiable weakness, why you and your committee decided to still nominate that student. Also, if you are able to, you're welcome to compare the student to previous students who have gone on to pursue research careers and advanced degrees. That's not necessary in your narrative statement. We'll talk about that as a responsibility of the letter writers. And if there are any issues that are raised in the letters of recommendation, you might address those as well. We've talked about what kinds of issues might be raised. Maybe a letter writer indicates a student has been ill or had family emergencies, needed to drop a course. If you know anything more about those kinds of situations, providing those in the narrative statement would be good. If you know that a particular letter writer has been fairly brief in his or her letter, but that actually is a glowing letter from that individual, you might comment on that. Those are the kinds of things that you might think about including in the narrative statement. Reviewers like to see those narrative statements, but they are indeed optional. Okay, with regard to reference letters, your responsibility is to collect those and upload them. But we'd like to again suggest a few things that you might consider before uploading those letters. For example, you might just check that the letters are formatted correctly. Recommenders should have taken a look at the format requirements. Maybe the one formatting mistake that we often see is someone exceeding the two-page limit. Reviewers aren't required to read beyond the 2 pages. I think most will, but you might just take a look at that, or at least remind the letter writers of those format requirements. You might also remind letter writers to, as we stated a few slides ago, to compare their applicants to students who have gone on to advanced degrees and research careers. That guidance is provided to the recommenders on the Goldwater website, but maybe letter writers need a reminder to take a look at those guidance comments. What's new this year is we've asked letter writers to tell us a little bit about the research accessibility on your campus. Sometimes it's difficult for reviewers to know what kind of research opportunities students have had available. And there are specific questions that we've asked letter writers to address to just give us a little bit more of an idea about your campus in terms of the research accessibility um, and research opportunities available to the student. Again, letter writers should have included this in their writing. If you feel comfortable providing that information, that's something that could be in the narrative statement as well. And one more thing we hope references will do is confirm any publications that the students have mentioned in their application. At the lower half of this slide, you'll see the kinds of questions that students are supposed to answer with regard to their various research projects. In particular, are there any publications associated with the project? And they're also supposed to let us know what the status of that publication is. In the lower right corner shows you the three options that the students are given. They can state that the publication is indeed published and provide that information for us. They can tell us that the manuscript has been accepted and is therefore in press, or it's simply that the manuscript has been submitted. And what we'd like to see in the research mentors letters is some confirmation of the status of any manuscripts that have been prepared. So if you could check on that, that helps reviewers. Remember, there's a student optional question where they're asked to describe any social or economic impacts that have influenced their education and research opportunities. These could be positive or negative impacts. And you could check to see if the applicant has submitted a response. We highly encourage students to do so. And in our November 12th presentation on hits and misses in Goldwater applications, we provided some suggestions of possible positive and negative influences that students might consider. So you might want to share that information with the students. And then finally, with regard to the research essay, you have no responsibilities whatsoever, but you want to help the students strengthen their application. You could check to see if they've discussed their intellectual contributions to the research project. The research mentor should have also discussed and confirmed those intellectual contributions as well. And in our research essay presentation on December 2nd, we shared some examples of language that would demonstrate that the student has individually contributed to the research project. Again, you might share that information with the student if it appears that they haven't done so in their research essay. Basically, this comes down to them using the word I and talking about their contributions individually as opposed to using phrases like we conducted, our research showed, etc. Okay, so that's some additional suggestions that we have at this point that would help to strengthen the student applications as they come into you. You might take a look at these different areas for expanding the statements in a little greater fashion. And again, just a reminder, there's an application deadline of 5 p.m. Central Time on January 30th. And I know my fellow consultants and I are happy to take any questions that you might have at this point.
Yeah, let me introduce the other consultants on the call are Bert Holmes, Babs Wise, Paul Uriyama, Julio Torrens, and from Scholarship America, we have Linda Zulsdorf. And if I've missed one of the consultants who's online, please say hello. So Babs, do we have any questions in the chat? Does anybody have a question they just want to ask the group directly? You can do that.
There is nothing currently in the chat.
One comment that I would add to Carrie's presentations is she emphasized the letter writers talking about student publications. They could also do that certainly with student presentations that are given on campus, regionally, nationally, wherever a presentation might be given. It's always good to have confirmation of both publications and presentations. Julio, did you?
I came a minute late, so I don't know if this was brought up or not. But if you have a publication or a presentation for that, it is also important to say what your specific role in it. It's not just the I did this or I did that, but my contribution to this paper was to do whatever analysis of, protein electrophoresis or DNA sequencing or something of that nature. But so that we know what was the role of the student.
And they could also say that I wrote this section.
Right.
And the research mentor can confirm those statements as well.
There's a question, and maybe Shelby knows the answer to this one. Was the December 10th session recorded?
I have to see if it was a student Q&A. It was not. I will take a look and put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do know the PowerPoint's posted on the Goldwater website.
Yes, it was the research essay one. So yes, it is
Yes.
posted on the website and then also on our YouTube channel. So I can stick a link in the chat as well.
I thought of something that I might add that Carrie briefly mentioned. I remember getting one comment from a campus rep that said, Professor so-and-so has described this student as a very strong student. That's the highest praise this person ever gives. I mean, many times we'll see comments like, a marvelous research student, the strongest I've ever had, but this person said a very strong student, a very strong researcher. And the campus rep pointed out that's the highest praise this faculty member ever gives. So if there are things that seem like they're sort of lukewarm, but that for that professor is like the highest praise they offer, that's very useful for us to know.
And I might also add in the CR statement, if for some reason there's a letter from a research mentor that's missing, and there's a particular reason why, maybe the person's on sabbatical internationally and hard to get the letter, etc., please mention that because we're looking for letters from the research mentors, and when they're missing, we wonder why.
It would certainly raise a flag of some sort.
Joanne?
Hi. Can you tell me where on the website we'd find the PowerPoints?
On the opening page, there's a menu on the far left side. Go all the way down and you'll see 26 open houses.
I see it.
Oh,
Thank you.
good.
Yeah.
Yes. Lots of information that we've been sharing for months.
Yeah.
Be there.
Yeah. This year has been problematic with getting to the webinars for me. I'm sorry. So there's some things that I
No
missed.
problem. That's why we've got them posted.
Thank you.
Amber, do you have a question? No, maybe not.
Well,
Well,
I
we're kind of in the
asked,
home stretch.
yeah. Do
Do
these
appreciate you
suggestions
all,
sound
though.
reasonable?
Question, but thank you.
Say that again, Carrie.
Yeah, I just wondered if if you felt that these suggestions sounded reasonable, or was there one that you think might be problematic? Can we give some suggestions on how to navigate a situation?
Babs, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will. Anything that you would be doing or had been doing at this point in the review process to get
Mhm.
letters in, that kind of thing.
Right. At this point, I would be, hopefully, I would have drafts of everything that the student has written and be making appointments with each student to kind of go over them and make sure that it's all there. Reading a little bit for grammar, but still at this point, we still got a few weeks to go. Looking at content, what are they saying about themselves? Trying to help them make sure that they're telling a story about who they are as a researcher and, helping the readers to kind of know that this is a young person who will become a research scientist. And there are lots of places to put that and to write a cogent story if you kind of take a little time and go through each of the essays with them. I would also, at this point, I usually, since I'm not a scientist, I would also be making sure that the student is meeting with their PI to make sure that the PI knows what the content is of that research essay. So, their job is sort of to add credence to what the student is saying about their research. And if they don't know what's in that essay, it's sort of hard for them to do that in their letter. I also found it was helpful for the student to share some of their other with some of the other recommenders what they were writing about. I usually, because again, I'm not a scientist, I usually had someone from my Goldwater Campus Committee also looking at the essay to make sure, usually somebody who's slightly apart from the student's field to kind of read over it and make sure it made sense to them as well. Because as you've heard in all of these sessions, yes, they're read by subject, but sometimes the person in that subject is slightly apart from what your student is actually doing. So it makes sense to have someone else read over those essays as well.
And let me add that, while we review by discipline, we don't review by subfield. So you may have an organic chemist who's reading an analytical chemist's, submission, and they may not be familiar with all the terminology that's used in that subfield. So having somebody just in the field but not in the subfield read things over is certainly a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And let me also add that it's perfectly fine for you to provide the student with as much help as your time allows you to provide that student. This is not like the roads where you're not supposed to help the student. We view up the application for Goldwater, as I've said many times before, as practice for other fellowship applications that are to come down the road. The applications for grad school. So this is generally the student's first crack at a national scholarship application. So again, as much assistance as you can provide would certainly be appreciated.
I see that Mitch from UNC Greensboro has his hand up. Mitch?
Yes. So, can you give a little clarification about the verification of publications? It seemed like there was like an online form or something like that when Carrie, when you were going through your presentation. Did I see that right? And if so, can you clarify? Is that something that CR does or the PI does?
No, that's something that a student is filling out.
Okay, so when they fill out their stuff, they have a verification form. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's actually in the section of the application where the student lists all the projects that they've worked on, up to 5 of them. And for each project, the student is asked whether or not they've had a publication or presentation. And if so, how many of each. So that is on the student's online application. And of course, you, with your dashboard, you can actually look at the student's application and all their answers, so that, you know, that's a section that you can look at.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
And I will tell you, as a reviewer, one of the most perplexing things you encounter is the student says, this publication and this is in some journal, the research mentor doesn't verify it, and you try to go look for it and you can't find it. That's very perplexing. So that is typically harmful to the student's application.
You want to tie all these loose ends together. And again, let me emphasize, and we just had one this afternoon. If a student is having problems with their online application, a technical issue, contact Scholarship America. They can look at the student's application. We can't actually. And, you know, by looking at the application, they usually always very quickly figure out what the issue is. And so there's no point in spinning your wheels or wasting time, you know, trying to get something to work for the student or on your dashboard. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, Thashani, pronounce your.
Tushani, I'm from Stockton University.
Yes.
So the question I have is how to review the student's essay for the AI use. I see some new guidelines that have been provided, how it can be used, but do you have any tips I can use when I review the research essay?
Well, with this year, AI is new to everybody. And last year, we asked the students if they used AI, and some of them said they did. And basically, what they said they did, they wanted to emphasize the fact that they wrote their narrative statements and then had AI, kind of like with the Grammarly, you know, enhance the grammatical character of the essay. Some students said, I'm not a native language speaker, and I used AI to help improve the grammar structure of my responses. Other students said I used AI to shorten essays so that they fit in the character requirements. You know, how students are using AI in their research, you know, that's going to vary dramatically depending on disciplinary area, whether or not their projects have involved the use of AI. One thing I want to emphasize is that if your institution has rules or regulations about using AI, they trump Goldwater. If the students are not allowed to use AI at your institution, that's the rule the student needs to follow.
But it's the student's responsibility to report whether or not they used AI. You don't have any need to verify that they've used AI or check their essay or anything like that.
That's a good point. The student has been asked 3 questions that are going to be provided. Their answers are going to be provided to the reviewers this year. They were not provided last year. I do remember reviewers saying that they thought the responses to the essays were much improved last year. So we can't attribute that to AI necessarily, but we are seeing the reviewers evaluating the responses more positively, actually. So, one of the things that AI could be used for is, we obviously are interested in seeing students go on for advanced degrees. Can they use AI to help them find academic institutions that are providing research opportunities in their area of interest where they want to go on? Using that in responses to their essays, I think would strengthen the essays.
Thank you very much. It was helpful.
Other questions? Any additional comments from the consultants or Linda with regard to Scholarship America providing assistance when needed?
Well, I'll ask one, John. I guess I want to know, when are you going to make the reviewers obsolete by having AI do all of this?
That's a good one.
John knows me, so he's used to that kind of stuff from me.
Yeah. Well, if there are no more questions, we will be here next week, same time, same place. If you have questions in the interim, something comes up that a question your student raises or a mentor raises, a letter writer raises, get in touch with us. Otherwise, see you next week if you've got questions. Thank you all for attending.
Bye, everyone.